yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened.
Hey guys, this is Todd from COSN coming at you again today. Hey, today I just want to introduce you to my M1079 military vehicle. It's in the LMTV family. That's light military tactical vehicle. And there's quite a bit of different variations of this vehicle, as far as it also being in the M1078 family. So there's flatbeds with cranes, troop carriers, things like that. But this one I purchased from a gentleman in Oregon. It was kind of a really cool story. He flew all the way back east to Florida with his father, bought it in Florida, and drive it clear across the country back to Oregon, which is pretty awesome. He said it was the best time he ever spent with his dad, but I couldn't imagine, because if you know anything about these M1079s, they're not speed demons. You get about, at the most, 58 on the flats. You can get it up to 60, 62 coming downhill, not quite in a hurricane, but you know what I mean. And they eat quite a bit of fuel. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But like I said, I just want to do a quick overview of this vehicle to include, you know, we went out and we actually have tested this. I've brought this out on an overnighter a couple times so far, and it's work in progress. I want to keep this running, as far as not, you know, tearing it down and doing all the things that I want to right now to it. I want to add to it slowly so I can keep it on the road and adventuring and having fun with it. But I do still have my K5 Blazer that I am right now finishing, getting that complete, and then this will be my next project, including I have more projects. But there's a lot I want to do to this already, and I have a ton of parts. So I'm also going to go over all the parts that I have for this as well. So this is my M1079 behind me, military vehicle. What makes it an M1079 is actually that box on the back, and that is the maintenance. There's a comma one too. That is the maintenance box. I actually pulled out quite a bit of steel out of it already. There's another video I have up, and I'll put a link down below of the back and what I've done to it so far. I did put carpet in it, which was a bad idea, especially being out here in the desert. So I'm going to change that over to a hardwood flooring, and I got some other plans. So you can watch that video and hear what I've got in store for the back side of this vehicle. So we're just gonna go on the outside of it and give you just a general overview. If you've never seen one of these, of course, I was in the military 22 years, so I've seen a lot of these. This is a 1994, which is pretty cool. It does, why I say that is because it doesn't have the electronic fuel pump, and you don't need a laptop to troubleshoot it. So you do have a stack of manuals to troubleshoot it, but you can do it with a multimeter and tracing wires, which is super cool. When you start getting into the later models, up around 98, 2000, you have to have basically your CAT laptop, plug into it and go. You can troubleshoot some stuff, but they have a diagnostic computer for a lot of those new type vehicles. So that's why I kind of like this older one. I have a lot of older vehicles because I can work on it. I know a lot about it, and I have done a ton of work to this. I've changed all the belts. I've fixed the rewelded generator brackets. I've done a lot to this already. Changed out a lot of the electrical connectors because they were dry rotted being in Florida and then bringing it up here. A lot of those were dry rotted. Got all those changed out. Now this has the 3116 cat motor in it. It's not a monster of a motor. It will last forever. It's basically the same thing out of a D7 or whatnot, but it only has about 225 horsepower, but they convert that into a lot of torque using a 7-speed Allison transmission. Now in that Allison transmission, it's a push button 7-speed. It is auto, so all you have to do is put it in drive, shifts itself. But to go into your 4-wheel drive modes, basically you hit it into manual and you can shift it through first, second, and third, which is really your real low-end 4-wheel drive. It's actually re-gearing through those gears. So that's really nice for doing a lot of 4-wheel drive stuff and, you know, getting yourself out of a hole. Now I really eventually want to put a big massive winch on this, and not just to pull this thing out, which, you know, probably have to double line or triple line it to get this monster. It is, after I get all the steel out of it, it's 18,700 and some odd pounds, without even putting, you know, I've got, well, we'll go over that. I'm putting propane tank, generators, stuff like that on it. I have a lot of that stuff already. But the drivetrain is the 3116 cat motor, Allison 7-speed automatic transmission, all-time 4-wheel drive. Another reason why it's not a speed demon. You know, like I said, it's about 58 on the flats. Going to get the Eco hubs. A gentleman actually made hubs that you can actually just change the hubs out instead of changing your gears in the pumpkin. They do have high-speed pumpkins, but I'm just going to change to Eco hubs and see how well it does, because it does all right. It's not, you know, like I said, speed demon, but it does all right, you know, on the highway, things like that. But I wanted to get a little bit more out of it and not being at that high RPMs on the highway and burning even more fuel. It does get about, depending, highway is worse than actually tooling around because you're at such a high RPM, looking at about 7 to 8 miles per gallon. This does have a roughly a 48-gallon tank on it of diesel. So you can go a while. Feels like you're getting good gas mileage or fuel mileage, but you're really not. But tooling around, gets almost, I'd say about 8 to 10. Pretty good just tooling around at low RPMs. It does crawl quite well. You do need to let the air out of the tires with pretty much anything off-road. You guys know that. I did modify, it comes with, and I felt sorry for the gentleman that I bought it from, because he didn't know that it had an air ride on the cab, and he drove it about halfway across country without that air ride. This thing will beat the heck out of you if you don't have that air ride. So I put the new airbag system in it with a shock system. It's freaking awesome. Not cheap, but awesome. I mean, it works really well. But that actually, it makes the ride so much nicer on these big 46-inch tires. They're 395 or 80s, something like that. And with that being said, it does have the CTIS system. If you don't know what that is it's supposed to be basically a automatic tire pressure system that you can push into different modes. Like there's a sand mode, a highway mode, and it's supposed to fill your tires or depressurize them for different types of environment. Well, being in the military 22 years, that system never worked worth a crap. Half the time we would come out to the yard and we'd have a 5-ton that's, you know, completely flat all the way around. And a lot of people are deleting them off of these vehicles for that very reason. Plus, it takes a really long time to fill them and depressurize and that sort of thing. So I'm actually going to delete that probably when I do the high-speed hubs on this vehicle. And then it just, you know, I have it unplugged inside here, so it's not active right now. And I run usually about 70 pounds of pressure in these tires. Now, it's really cool also. I'll show you this. So on this system, so you have a manual pump. This is basically kind of like a jack pump. And in here is your controls so that you can lift your cab. So you can actually lift your cab up. And it's pretty awesome. And you can do it with your manual set, or it has an air over hydraulic pump that you can actually lift that up and it'll lift your cab up. And also you can switch over for the crane for your spare tire, because that bad boy is heavy. And that will actually come down, as you can see here. It'll come down all the way to the ground, release, and then you can, you know, change your tire, put your old one on there and lift it back up. Pretty sweet system. This is also where your cab air is. So that's your air ride for your cab. You can turn that off and on. Cab tilt, suspension, spare tire, and this is your selector. You can go cab tilt, truck, spare tire, and then this is your cab up and down. The suspension I'm actually going to change over. Now what that is they actually installed down inside here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but inside here they actually have where you can hook to your suspension and you can pull the suspension down to do loading onto different ships, make it squat down, stuff like that. But I'm going to take that out and probably use it somewhere else, but I'm not sure where yet. So that is the hydraulic system. Of course, you got your fuel tank here. I need to put a lockable fuel tank on there. They do make a lockable system that you can lock this up, because this is just a big basic cap. Walking through, I have a large toolbox that's going to go in here. I already have that purchased. I just need to get that on there, and we'll probably do a lot of this at the same time. These were big tie downs for, you know, running it on over the ocean or on a ship. Huge tie downs. I pulled all those out because they weigh about 200 pounds a piece of steel. There was one there, and there was one up front here in this slot. I pulled all those out, reduced some weight, and try to get some better gas mileage, but you know, it's a big rig, so you're only going to get so much. With the box, I did a video on that, like I said, but it is a really nice box, really good size. And up front of the box, you can see behind me, you can see in these pictures that I'm going to put a generator in the center. I've got an AC unit for the left side, and then on the right side I've got my solar battery and solar system, and I'm going to put solar panels up top. This is air brake system, so you have glad handles on the front and the rear. And to back up that air system, because if you've done anything with big rigs and air systems, if you lose your air, and these do have a tendency to have some issues with the air pump. This one's been rebuilt. I didn't do it, the guy prior to me did, but I got a new governor and stuff on that as well. But what I also did is I added a 24 volt Sherpa air compressor that goes up to about 80 pounds. I can adjust a little bit more, but I put it right here. So I put that in so that I can hook into my air system with an air chuck, and I can supply myself, just in case if that air pump went out, I can actually supply up to 80 pounds of air pressure into my air system, so that I can A, unlock my brakes, and B, still use my brakes and limp it back to somewhere where I can get that air pump fixed that's on the engine. That's just a backup security if I'm out there, need something to happen. To include underneath here is a 4 battery set, and in that battery set I actually have a charger, so I keep it charging all the time because I don't want to lose 4 batteries. That'd be really expensive to replace. And I have a 300 amp 24 volt, one of the Eco big jump boxes. Again, just in case something happens, I leave something on, battery goes bad, I have a huge jump box that will actually turn this engine over and get her started. It is a cold-blooded engine. They didn't do a lot as far as, you know, a lot of your diesels have your glow plugs, and when you know, turn it on, those glow plugs heat up and preheat the fuel, and boom, you're rolling. Well, on this one, it's modeled right after the D7, you know, engine, that 3116, so they added an ether shot. So I got to get a new ether bottle just in case I don't like using ether. It'll actually start without it. It does take a little bit to get going and warmed up, but I'm going to try to stay away from the ether. But if I need it on a really cold morning, if I'm out somewhere, I need it to start up, take a couple shots, and she'll start right up. But I got to get a new ether tank. Walking around here too is you've got your air filter housing and tranny check. This is your tranny and engine fuel here, so you can put oil in both if you need to. That's one thing I wish they would have done, is put the engine check out here as well, so I can, you know, check, see how much, you know, oil's in the engine. Instead, I have to lift the cab to do that. But then I can check the power steering and all the rest of that. This is also your cooling. So your cooling's right here. It's kind of nice. So you have this area where you can do a lot of your checks before you take off and drive. It's nice being out front. All right, guys. Well, I'm trying to think of some other stuff that I might not have covered. There's so much on this vehicle. If you guys have any questions, I just want to kind of give you an overview. I'm going to be doing a lot of work to this, and I'll also show you the cab here in a sec. But I've been doing a lot of work to this as far as getting it mechanically sound. And then I'm going to start working on the box, getting all that ready to go. I just wanted to make sure it's mechanically sound so I can take it out like tomorrow I'm actually taking it to a overland meetup for coffee. So I'll show you that too. And hopefully there'll be some cool rigs I can, give you some pictures and stuff on this video. All right, guys, well, I'm going to show you the cab. Let's check it out. Okay, guys, so this cab is the best cab ever. No, I'm just joking. So as far as military goes, not a lot of bells and whistles. I mean, really bare bones. I'm not even, I mean, they did some insulation in the bottom of the cab for a little bit of road noise, but it is really minimal. There's no insulation in the ceiling, no insulation in the rear, no insulation in the doors. So you do get a lot of road noise. Like I said, it's military vehicle, very minimalist, which I like the minimalist thing, but at the same time, I want some creature comforts as far as I'm going to take all this flooring out. So I'm actually going to take all of this out, take all of the doghouse insulation off. I mean, this is just raw. Then they have some insulation here, that's how thick we're looking at, right? So you can imagine the road noise from that 3116 underneath this cab. It's quite the noise. And as I said, no insulation in the roof. It is completely bare bones. And the only time that the military actually took and added the AC units is when we went to up armored vehicles. And some of them got retrofitted with some AC on that, but really they didn't do anything extra as far as the AC until they started up armoring our vehicles, because we had to have the windows up when you're rolling down, in a combat situation from IEDs, things like that. You can't have your windows down with, explosions and shrapnel and whatnot. So they started adding AC units in that time frame. And, it was because we would melt if you didn't have them, especially in the desert in Iraq and things like that. So this one does not have AC. I can get the AC unit. It's really expensive for an add-on. Maybe someday. I just, in the heat, when it's hot, because this engine gets hot, makes it even hotter in here. And of course you can see I got my sweet freaking 24-volt fan up there. That's my AC. That's what I got. So, but in the summer, I just, I just grin and bear it and take the shirt off and drive down the road. So that's pretty much what I do in the summertime. But I am going to re-insulate the bottom of this vehicle to get some more soundproofing. I'm going to insulate the back and the roof, because that roof actually radiates heat once it starts getting hot. Once I get that roof done and get the sides done, it will definitely cut down with the actual how hot it gets in here. Like you can see, I have a window. I actually made that window insulation here, which actually helps a lot, especially when I'm working on this vehicle, because those windows so big. It's awesome to drive because it is big, but at the same time, with the heat coming in and it just sitting here, it heats up pretty fast. So again, very bare bones in this cab. I did change the seats out from the original military ones. I added these seats that have armrests, which are pretty awesome. And it does have 3 seats if you are not familiar with this vehicle. The guys were trying to talk me into it. If you see up here, this round opening, that was actually for a turret for a machine gun. And, being a gun store owner, the guys wanted me to turn that back into a turret and get a 50 and all this. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't need, this is kind of a multi-purpose vehicle for me. With that being said, I bought it for kind of like overlanding, camping, hunting, but also a backup because I am a prepper. So this does have a multi-purpose as far as if I did have to roll somewhere. It's 2.5 tons. I can load a lot of stuff in this. I already have, bug out locations, a crew, the whole 9 yards. So this does work really well for that. No, it's not up armored, but it will transport a lot of equipment. And I can have 3 people in here as far as gunning and running. And that's why they were like, oh, you need a turret. But no, I'm probably going to put a top rack up above so I can put more lighting, side lighting, and more front lighting. I do have the military lights on this. I upgraded those to LED headlights, which are awesome. They're super bright and they work really well. But I would like some more lighting, of course. So again, in here, you can see this is just a piece of plastic back here. They do have the original M16 holders, one on this side, one over there on the other side. I actually use it for Mannix, which is, you know, a shovel combo kit, pick, that sort of thing. So I put that in there. And of course I had to have, you know, something that I could put my drinks and stuff, because there is absolutely no cup holders in this thing for now, until I do some modifications to get that fixed. These are compartments behind the seats. That's where I keep my battery jumper, tools, manual. Sometimes I have a 30-ton bottle jack, just in case if I have to change a tire. Not looking forward to that day. It's not about getting the, you know, the lug nuts actually busted off, but it's about, you know, getting that tire back on those lugs, because it's a heavy tire. And usually the big shop that I worked in the military, we had a big roller system where the tire goes on there. You got a jack, you can jack it up to align everything, roll the tire to get it right where your lugs are, and push the tire on. Doing it by hand, I do have a huge bar so I can lift that tire up. Hopefully I have two people, and I have really big breaker bars to bust the lug nuts and you know, of course, put the lug nuts back on. Still not looking forward to that day, but it will happen one day, I'm sure, if I keep the vehicle, which I plan on keeping it for quite a while. But anyway, going back over the cab, I did add, because it has absolutely no dome lights, so I did add a couple dome lights in here, just so, you know, I got some lighting at night, and, you know, doing some overlanding stuff. We do drive this out there at night. And very basic dash setup. This is the control for the 7-speed transmission. It is all push button up and down. You can go to your different modes, from manual mode to automatic mode, and then do your manual shifting, or just leave it in drive and it'll auto shift for you. Very simple gauge setup. They got all your typical gauges, front and rear tanks as far as your air tanks go. Fuel gauge, which isn't quite accurate, but it works good enough for now. Your speed, do maybe put an RPM gauge in here one of these times, just so I can monitor the RPMs and see the difference between the eco hubs and the regular hubs, which would be pretty cool. So I might add that here in the future. I've got, of course, your heat. It does really well as far as heat. It hardly ever gets above 200 degrees. Your charging system, oil pressure. This is for your air. So when it goes up to the red, it'll tell you when you start getting clogged. This will actually monitor your air filter, and the more dirty it gets, the higher this little gauge goes up. When it gets into the red, that means you're bad. But with this big of an air filter, I haven't had any issues with it. This is your military lights. So when you're running this, you technically have to have all your lights on to use your blinkers. If you don't have these on, your blinkers won't work. This is your manual cruise control. So basically, if you push your foot down on the throttle and you put it on high, that baby's holding your throttle to the floor. So that is your manual cruise control, just in case if you want to use that. And then, of course, these are the controls to, you know, hazards, that sort of stuff. You can actually turn the fan off as well, just in case if you're fording water. This will ford 4 feet of water. Your brakes, this is if you have a trailer. I almost had a trailer for this thing, which would have been awesome. I don't have it. I installed big rig horn. It does have a manual little beeper horn, but I put a big rig horn in it. And then, of course, your standard brakes. Now you know what that is. Phone holder. I do have 2 cameras. I have one low by my hitch, and I have one up high on the back, so that I can hook to a trailer without anybody else. To include, I can see what's on the trailer going down the road, so I don't lose anything, like, you know, overlanding, stuff like that. I can watch my trailer and make sure I don't lose anything. Something breaks, I can see it in my camera, also backing up, you know, that sort of thing. My power system, this does have, underneath that is a huge array of circuit breakers, and I'm talking like 30 circuit breakers. Huge array of circuit breakers. Also your fuse panel and your 12-volt hookup. That's what this stuff is hooked up to. I have a little ham radio, which I'll upgrade. Eventually, I'll put a full-size, you know, car ham radio up here, probably with a CB, stuff like that. That's future stuff, because like I said, I have a lot of stuff I'm working on. Fire extinguisher, of course, is a must-have. And then manual windows, manual locks, old school freaking Seat belts, I need to change those out. I did convert this. Usually it's a push button start. It is now a key start. So if somebody does know how to get this thing started, they'll have to have a key to get it started, or wrenches. So with that, really, that's about it as far as just how simple and basic this vehicle is. It's very basic. That's why I want to kind of upgrade it as I go. This cab is going to be, it's going to take some time. I want it fully insulate. I want to fully line it from the back to the roof to the floor. I don't know about what I'll do about the doors, but I'll probably put some insulation in there as well. Once I get all that done, it'll be that much more comfortable to drive. It's fun to drive now. It'll be even more comfortable then, and less heat. Now in the winter works pretty good because the engine gets hot and it gets nice and toasty in here without even kicking the heater on. So I don't think I'll ever go to an AC unit in here. Maybe, maybe not, depending on how long I keep it. If I do keep it for a long duration, because I do have a flatbed and a civilian. I already have the civilian hookup, civilian conversion for the electrical, so I can hook a trailer to this, which I already have. But I do have a flatbed that either my Blazer or my 1969 CJ5 will fit on to go behind this. So when I do like an Overlander, I can go park this like as my home out in the desert somewhere, and then run around with, you know, a smaller, more fuel efficient vehicle. Plus, you know, this thing being so big, when I had it on the other Overlander, I was taking branches out. It's pretty wide stance going through some of those small trails. Got a little sketchy, and I don't want to tear these tires up. The lava rock out here is brutal, and it'll chunk your tires out. So I want to save these tires as long as I can. They're not cheap. Utah sells some 90%ers. I'll probably get some of those. Again, how long depends on if I keep this for a long duration, which I probably will. I don't have any plans of getting rid of it right now, especially when I have so many parts to put on it. I mean, I literally have the propane tanks, I have the generators, I have the AC unit, I have the toolboxes to go on it, I have the wood flooring to go in it, I have all the bedding. Then I'm going to build the bed that folds out to a full from a single to the bunk bed. And then I'm looking for cabinets to put in the back just to have like a little small kitchen set up. I don't want to fill the back full of stuff and do like a mass conversion on this, because this does, like I said, dual purpose. I want to make it to where this is my hunting rig, bug out rig. So if I need to throw a bunch of stuff back there, it isn't already full and there's no room. So I want to make sure that I have plenty of room. But plus I like having friends, visitors and stuff. So we just have folding chairs go back there, have underlighting. We chill and, you know, out of the wind, out of the rain. Let's say, oh, I have a diesel heater also going back there, which are super awesome. If you've ever seen the diesel heaters, they are awesome. And it's diesel, so why not get that put in? That's why I got to get the bed put in, because it's going underneath the bed, so it's all, you know, concealed and all that good stuff. So anyway, again, if you have any questions, any comments, go ahead and drop them down below. I'll do my best to answer those. And this is a pretty awesome project that I got and will have the opportunity to get. Got it for a great price. I'm going to finish up some of the other projects first, but I really enjoyed driving this rig and having this rig. It's a lot of fun. And look forward to quite a few series videos of this, you know, upgrading, talking about it, maybe doing some upgrades even to the engine, you know, with other people with LMTVs out there. It's always good to see people's creations and what they got going on. So I really appreciate you guys watching and everything you do with me. Always remember, you know, prepare your community in a disaster. That's the first people that, you know, you're going to have to rely on. Help your community, prepare your community, and always prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. All right, guys, thanks for watching. And again, just if you got anything, just throw it down in the comment block. I'll put some links down below on some of the stuff that I mentioned. Really appreciate you guys and all your support. Have a good one. Catch you on the next video.
There it goes. So Nick, tell me about your girlfriend.
Bacon or sausage flavored?